How's it going, everybody? This is the Smooth Admin, and today I would like to talk to you about how to use the email log files in Salesforce to confirm that emails that you are expecting to go out are actually going out. So let me walk through an example of this to help illustrate why you might find this useful. So I have a workflow rule running on the case object, and it's a very simple rule. All it does is when a user checks the RMA is required checkbox, which is a custom field I have on our case object, when they check that field, it automatically sends an email out to the customer service specialist so that that individual knows that a RMA needs completed for that case. Now, I had a user this morning come to me and say that the customer service person was not receiving the RMA request that they were supposed to. So I quickly looked at their case contact record and found that their email address was missing, and it's definite that if their email address is missing off their contact record, then they most certainly were not going to be getting the emails. So I added the email address onto their record, and I wanted to do two things at that point. First of all, for those two cases that they were missing the email notification on, I wanted to trigger the workflow rule so that they would get the emails on it. So I went back to those two records, blanked out the RMA as required field, saved the record, and then made the RMA as required field true again, saved it, and I was pretty assured that at that point the customer service person had now received the emails. However, I know that you really don't want to make assumptions with these kind of situations. I was pretty confident, but instead of asking the user to do this to verify it for me, I decided instead to use the email log file. So you don't really have to put it in their hands to figure it out for you. You can just do it yourself, and it's a very simple process. So all you need to do is in the setup menu, type email log and click on it, email log files, and this screen will just show you what an email log is and how to run it. So you can request an email log for any email for the past 30 days, and you can even specify the range that you want, and if you want to filter on certain email addresses, you can do that as well. So in this case, I did filter on this individual's email address, but if you didn't want to do that, you could just leave that blank and submit the request. If you have a big organization with a lot of users, then that might take a while to get that log back to you, but usually if you filter it, it comes back pretty quick. Now, here are two example logs that I already ran today, and you can see when you export it into a CSV file, the time that it ran, the recipient that it went to, what the mail event was, and there's other technical fields included in this file that you can look into if you need to. However, for my situation, I was able to quickly verify that the individual did receive the emails at that point that I expected her to. So I went back to her and let her know that the issue had been resolved, and she was satisfied with the result. And I felt good that I was able to verify this myself and know with high confidence that it was working properly. Now, this is just one very common scenario where you might want to run the log file, but there's plenty of other occurrences where you might want to do this. Like, for one, when you do know that your rule is set up right, and you've troubleshooted a issue and you cannot find any configuration problem, but a user still says they're not receiving the emails, then that is an excellent time to run the log file, because then you can isolate the problem, and you can rule out Salesforce being the issue, because you will be able to verify that it's being sent out. So at that point, once you verified that it's in the log, you can make sure that the user's checking their junk mail, make sure nothing's being held up by the firewall, things like that. So that's a second example of why you might want to use it, and there's a lot more possibilities of why you might want to use it. So just keep it in mind. It can be a really useful tool when you're in a pinch. And that sums up my take on this. If you have any comments or questions, please add them below. And I appreciate you listening to this, and thank you very much.